Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Ryan, and welcome back to Speak Up, the podcast that helps you speak better English every single day. And if you're new here, we're so glad you've joined us. Today's episode is all about something simple, but really powerful. Let me ask you something. What if you could improve your English just by listening? No pressure, no textbooks, just a habit that fits into your life. That's what we're diving into today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Priya, and I'm super excited about today's topic. More and more people are learning English through podcasts, and it's not just a trend, it's smart. You can learn while walking, cooking, or even sitting in traffic. We're going to share why podcasts might be the best way to learn English online. And trust me, there's one secret about podcasts that most learners don't know. We'll reveal that soon.
You know, Priya, when I first started exploring how people learn English these days, I noticed something interesting. Everyone talks about apps, textbooks, or even YouTube videos. But podcasts? They're different. They don't just teach English, they let you hear it in real conversations. That's something most English learning tools don't really offer. When you listen to a podcast, you're not memorizing rules. You're getting real, everyday English in action. That's powerful, especially for learners who want to use English in real life, not just in exams.
Exactly, Ryan. And what I love about podcasts is the freedom they give you. You don't have to sit in front of a screen or carry a book. You can do your English listening practice while you're cooking, walking, cleaning the house, or even just relaxing. It fits into your daily routine so easily. That's a big reason why people stick to it. It doesn't feel like studying. It becomes a habit. And we all know habits lead to progress, especially when learning a language.
Right. And let's be honest. Textbooks and grammar exercises have their place, but they can feel boring or too formal. Podcasts bring English to life. You hear different accents, tones, real conversations. That gives you daily English exposure in a way no textbook can. And the more you hear natural English, the more your brain gets used to the rhythm and flow. That's how people start thinking in English without even realizing it.
That's so true. And another cool thing, you can choose topics that interest you, whether you love sports, health, business, or even learning about new cultures. There's a podcast out there for you in English. So you're learning while enjoying something you already like. That makes it fun, not a chore. Most traditional tools don't offer that kind of variety. It's just grammar, vocabulary, repeat. But with podcasts, the learning feels real and exciting.
Yes, and there's another layer to it. When you're listening to real conversations, you also pick up on things like intonation, pauses, and expressions that people use naturally. It's not just what they say, it's how they say it. And that's something that even fluent speakers continue to work on. In fact, there's one hidden benefit of podcasts that even advanced speakers use to stay sharp. We'll talk about that in just a minute.
Oh yes, and that benefit is something I wish I'd known earlier. But before we get there, if you're someone who's been jumping from one English learning tool to another, this might be the one that actually sticks. Why? Because it's simple, flexible, and easy to turn into a daily habit. And the best part? You're learning without pressure. It just fits into your life naturally, and that's what makes podcasts so different from everything else out there.
Now that we've understood what makes podcasts so unique for English learners, let's move one step further. How podcasts actually help you improve your listening and speaking skills naturally. Because let's face it, understanding grammar is one thing, but speaking fluently is a whole different game. Podcasts expose you to real English listening, not just slow, clear sentences from a textbook. And that real-world exposure changes everything. It trains your ear, your brain, and eventually your mouth to speak better English.
Exactly, Ryan. When you listen to podcasts, you're not just learning new words. You're absorbing how English sounds in everyday life. The pronunciation, the rhythm, the way people link words together, all of that becomes familiar. And that's so important if you want to speak naturally. This is the kind of English speaking practice most learners miss out on. It's not forced, it's not boring, it's just listening. And over time, it transforms your speaking without you even realizing it.
Right. And one thing I really love is that podcasts don't feel like lessons. They're conversations, they're stories, they're real. That's what makes it so effective. With daily listening, you start to recognize common phrases and sentence patterns. And that's when fluency starts to build. You start thinking in English instead of translating in your head. That's the true power of fluent English conversation, when you stop memorizing and start flowing.
And here's something I always tell my students. Don't stress if you don't understand everything at first. Just keep listening. Even if it's 10 minutes a day, that daily English exposure builds what I call your English brain. You start hearing the language differently. Repetition is a huge part of this. The more you hear something, the more natural it becomes. One day, those same words just come out of your mouth without effort.
Exactly. And if you want to level up your results, here's a quick trick. Pick a short podcast episode you like and replay small parts of it. First, just listen. Then focus on pronunciation. And finally, try to repeat it out loud, just like shadowing. It feels weird at first, but trust me, it's one of the best ways to improve your speaking. You'll be surprised how fast your confidence grows.
That's such a useful tip, Ryan. And what I love is that you don't need a special setup. No notebooks, no grammar books, just your phone and your ears. If you want to sound more natural and confident in conversations, podcasts are your best friend. Just stick with it, stay curious, and your English will grow every single day.
So now that we've seen how podcasts sharpen your listening and speaking, let's talk about something else. They're also a super effective English vocabulary builder. And the best part is, it doesn't even feel like studying. You're not sitting with a word list or memorizing flashcards. You're just listening to a conversation, and suddenly new words start sticking. Why? Because you're learning those words in context, not just definitions, but how they're actually used in daily English phrases.
Exactly, Ryan. When we hear a word inside a real conversation, our brain connects it to a situation, a tone, even an emotion. That connection is what makes the word memorable. Think about it. You probably remember how someone used a funny or emotional phrase more than a random word in a dictionary. That's what makes podcasts such a smart way to learn new English words. It's natural. You're learning the language the way native speakers use it every day.
And here's what's interesting. When you listen regularly, you start to hear the same phrases again and again. That repetition helps you understand not just what the word means, but how and when to use it. That's a big difference from just reading a word and trying to memorize it. And once you hear a word being used naturally 3 or 4 times, it kind of locks into your memory automatically.
Yeah, and you don't have to force it. That's the beauty of it. Your vocabulary starts growing without pressure. I remember one of my students said, I didn't even realize I had learned 30 new words last month just from listening to my favorite podcast while cooking. That's how powerful daily English phrases can be when you hear them in real conversations. No textbooks, no stress, just natural learning.
All right, as we promised earlier, here's that simple trick to make new vocabulary stick 3 times faster. Ready? After listening to a podcast, pick just 1 or 2 new words or phrases that caught your attention. Then, say them out loud. Next, try to use them in a sentence from your own life. That's it. Just listening helps. But when you speak the word and connect it to your world, your brain locks it in like magic.
Such a smart and easy trick. And remember, you don't need to learn 10 words a day. Even learning 1 useful phrase a day can totally change your English over time. Podcasts help you do that without any pressure. Just pick an episode, listen in the background, and boom. You're building your vocabulary naturally, and the best part, you'll actually remember it when you need to speak.
All right. So we've talked about why podcasts are amazing for your vocabulary, listening, and speaking. But now let's talk about the how. How can you actually use podcasts in the smartest way? Here's the first tip. Don't be afraid to slow down the playback speed. Most podcast apps let you do that. When you slow it down to 0.8 or even 0.5 speed, you catch the pronunciation better. It's one of the best English listening tips for beginners. It gives your brain a little more time to understand and absorb.
Totally. And once you're comfortable, try listening to the same episode again, this time at normal speed. That repetition helps a lot. And here's a method I really love. It's called the shadowing technique. It sounds fancy, but it's simple. You just listen to a sentence and then repeat it out loud right after, like an echo. This is a powerful method when you're wondering how to study English with podcasts. It improves your pronunciation and helps you get the rhythm of real spoken English.
Yes, and let's talk about timing. When should you listen? Some of the best times are during your morning routine, while you're commuting, or even right before bed. These are the times when your mind is more relaxed, and it's easier to focus without distractions. If you make it a habit to learn English every day, even if it's just 10 minutes, your brain will start absorbing the language passively without pressure.
And that brings us to something really important: passive listening. Some people think, oh, I didn't understand everything I heard, so it's not working. But that's not true. Even if you don't understand every single word, your brain is still picking up sounds, patterns, and sentence structures. That's how babies learn language, right? So trust the process. Passive listening works quietly in the background, and over time, it makes a huge difference.
That's so true. And I'll add this: don't try to do too much at once. Pick one podcast you like and stick with it. Focus on understanding one or two things per episode. And when something grabs your attention, maybe a cool phrase or a new expression, pause and repeat it. Speak it out loud. That's where real progress begins. You're not just listening, you're living the language.
Exactly, Ryan. It's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. So if you're asking yourself how to turn podcasts into a daily English habit, here's the answer: just hit play. Whether you're walking, doing dishes, or relaxing, press play. That little action, repeated every day, will slowly but surely make you more confident, more fluent, and more comfortable in English.
Now that we know how to use podcasts effectively, let's look at which podcasts you should follow. First up, conversational podcasts. These are shows where hosts chat casually, sometimes with a co-host, sometimes with a guest. You get real dialogue, natural pauses, and everyday expressions. They're perfect for English audio learning because you hear how native speakers really talk. If you're just starting out, look for shows that use simpler language and slower speech. That way, you ease into understanding real conversations.
Great point, Ryan. Next, we have topic-based podcasts. These focus on a specific theme, like travel, technology, health, or culture. If you love cooking or sports, find an English podcast on that theme. You already know the subjects, so you can focus on learning new words and phrases around that topic. This makes them some of the best English podcasts for beginners because you're engaging with content you enjoy, not struggling through random lessons.
Exactly. And for learners who want something more immersive, there are storytelling podcasts. These shows tell a story, fiction or non-fiction, episode by episode. They're great for building suspense and keeping you hooked. Plus, you learn narrative structures, descriptive language, and follow along as the story unfolds. For intermediate learners, these can be a fun challenge. You might not catch every word at first, but that's okay. The plot keeps you engaged, and you learn through context.
Absolutely. And here's another angle. Some shows are specifically made for learners with clear pronunciation and explanations. Others are regular English podcasts that aren't aimed at learners but still work great for English for everyday life. The key is balance. Mix learner-focused shows with regular conversational or topic-based ones. That way, you get both clarity and authenticity in your English learning.
So to recap, start with conversational podcasts for natural dialogue. Use topic-based podcasts to learn vocabulary in context and try storytelling formats for immersive listening. And don't forget to sprinkle in real native podcasts to challenge yourself. By mixing these types, you cover all angles: listening, speaking, vocabulary, and culture.
That's a great way to learn. And remember, the key is consistency. The more you listen, the more comfortable and confident you'll become. Keep exploring different podcast types until you find the ones that suit your learning style and interests best.
All right, let's talk about something that really sets podcasts apart from other learning methods: confidence. The beauty of learning with podcasts is that there's absolutely no judgment. You're not sitting in a classroom worrying about making mistakes in front of others. You don't have to worry about exams or speaking tests either. Podcasts offer a safe space where you can practice speaking English without fear. You can listen, repeat, and speak out loud. No one's listening but you.
Exactly, Ryan. That's such an important point. English confidence tips often focus on practicing in a low-pressure environment, and podcasts give you exactly that. You can practice speaking aloud in your own time and at your own pace. It's like having a private tutor right in your pocket. You don't have to worry about saying something wrong in front of others, and you can just focus on improving at your own pace.
Right. And for people who are a little shy or hesitant to speak in English, this is a game changer. You can listen to a podcast and repeat what you hear in the privacy of your own space. This way, you're building English-speaking confidence without anyone judging you. Over time, you'll get comfortable speaking out loud, and eventually, that confidence will carry over into real conversations.
That's such a good point, Ryan. The more you listen and speak along with the podcast, the less self-conscious you'll feel. It becomes second nature. And for shy learners, this is one of the best ways to ease into speaking English. You can practice saying phrases, improving your accent, and getting used to speaking without the fear of being wrong. It's a gentle and safe approach that works wonders.
And here's the secret. Because podcasts are such a private learning tool, you can go back and listen as many times as you want. No one's going to judge you for listening to the same episode 5 times. That repetition builds your confidence slowly, but surely. Plus, each time you repeat, you improve just a little more.
That's right. And remember, with podcasts, you control the pace of your learning. No rush, no pressure, just steady practice, and you'll find that your confidence grows naturally. So if you're feeling nervous about speaking English, start with podcasts. They're the perfect way to ease into speaking with confidence without any of the usual stress.
Now let's talk about how podcasts can fit into any lifestyle, even for the busiest of us. The thing about podcasts is that they don't require you to change your routine. Whether you're driving, cooking, or exercising, you can be learning English on the go. It's a perfect way to keep improving your language skills without taking up extra time. For busy people, this means you can still maintain a consistent English learning routine without it feeling like a huge task.
Exactly, and it's not just about fitting learning into your day, it's about keeping your motivation high. With podcasts, you don't need to sit at a desk or open a textbook. You can listen whenever it's convenient. You're not just passively waiting for time to pass. You're learning and growing even during the busiest moments. That's what makes English learning for busy people so manageable. It's all about creating a habit, and podcasts make it easy.
And the best part? Podcasts don't feel like work. You can listen while doing other tasks, so it doesn't feel overwhelming. Plus, it's a habit that builds on itself. The more you listen, the more you'll find that you want to listen, because the content is engaging, relatable, and fits your lifestyle.
You're right. And over time, you'll start noticing small changes in how you think and speak in English. Eventually, listening becomes part of your routine without you even thinking about it. One surprising benefit of this regular habit is that podcasts can actually help you think in English. And when that happens, you're no longer translating in your head, which makes speaking and understanding so much easier.
Exactly, Priya. Once you start thinking in English, it's like a light bulb goes off. You're processing language naturally. That's when your skills really skyrocket. So, even if you're just listening in small snippets, remember that each bit builds your confidence and fluency.
Podcasts are a simple and effective way to learn English, no matter how busy your schedule is. Keep listening, stay consistent, and you'll see the progress in no time. This wraps up our podcast for today. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you feel inspired to keep learning English through podcasts.